As rightly mentioned by the moderator, fish comes last. In fact, there used to be, not in this seminar, typically, till recently, there was no Department of Fisheries. Though it was a part of agriculture, there was no Department of Fisheries as such. So recently that Government of India has separately created a ministry including animal husbandry, dairy and fisheries. And fish has been always talked in a negative tone. Whenever there is something bad, oh, something fishy happening there. And some small disturbance there, oh, he is troubling in fishing waters or fishing in troubled waters. So likewise always, fish being the best of the protein supplier, cheap protein supplier to the poorest of the poor, particularly in the rural areas, somehow at all governments level, it didn't receive the required attention that it ought to have received. But then, despite governments, this sector has grown. I repeat, despite governments, it is the farmers who acted as scientists and made miracles in aquaculture, particularly freshwater aquaculture. Thanks to my colleague, Sri Tarun Sridhar, when I was Joint Secretary, I was the Chief Executive for the National Fisheries Development Board. Just then, prior to that, I was the Commissioner of Fisheries in the combined state of Andhra Pradesh. Just at that point of time, permissions were given for culturing vanamai, which is an exotic species. In fact, I am sitting in this seat, perhaps in place of Mr. B. Mastan Rao, the chairman of the BMR Group of Industries. He was supposed to be in this chair. When 2 pilot projects were given to try out this vanamai, there was so much ruckus for introducing this exotic species, so much opposition. That too in the background of the then black tiger culture having been wiped out. In fact, prior to vanamai prawn, India has been producing large quantities of black tiger, what they call monodon. Subsequently, because of virus disease, the entire world monodon culture has been wiped out. Not only in India, the whole world, monodon culture has gone. Luckily, thanks to technology, a new species, what is called as American white shrimp, it is called Leptopineus vanamai, that has been introduced after a lot of debate and discussion. At that point of time, Tarun Sridhar was there in the department who has proactively supported its liberalization from the pilot stage to the expansion stage. Thanks to that single decision, today, India is able to export about 66,000 crores worth of export material. Most of it contains only this vanamai shrimp. Of course, there is sea cod fish, cultivated fish is also part of it, but major contribution comes from this vanamai. Good that why today in this particular seminar, feeding the growing livestock population, vanamai contributes a major share in the livestock. Though there is a fundamental difference between the culture practices between dairy, poultry and fisheries. As all of us know, fish cannot be seen with your naked eye. They are underwater. They grow underwater. Similarly, shrimp. The problems and issues of aquaculture are totally different from that of the terrestrial animals, your cows and buffaloes and then birds. So the problems and issues are separate or different. When the disease occurs, until entire fish has died or entire shrimp has floated, nobody comes to know. So there is a need for adequate research in the technologies that has been provided to support aqua industry. Luckily, we have a lot of coastal areas in the entire country which has huge potential for promoting aquaculture. And aquaculture caters to the rural employment because they are not like IT industry which is concentrated in urban areas. It is scattered all over India, particularly in the coastal belt, including inland areas. Another wonderful opportunity we have is cage farming of 1 minute only. Cage farming of fishes. Like Telangana state, they have created a lot of new water bodies. Cage culture can yield huge quantities of fish. There are species which are amenable for cage culture. So therefore, plenty of opportunity exists for promoting aquaculture in our country. And there are buyers. It can feed a lot of feeders. In fact, now where the debate is how to feed those who are feeding. And fish and prawns constitute a major component in aquaculture. Some of the issues, very quickly I will mention. I just mentioned a few points only that need the attention of the audience. I'm sure not many from aquaculture sector are present in this audience. Despite that, the high price of soya has affected Vaname culture recently. Thanks to the elder brothers in poultry sector, together they have taken initiative to get the import permission from Government of India. That also took quite some time. More than 2-3 months, the papers were moving from one department to the other. Ultimately, when they physically went to Delhi, sat for a couple of days, then only things started taking shape. Lucky that we have permission from Government
sorry
of
to
India.
interrupt you. Can we take the challenges in the next room?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry
So ultimately, to sum up, aquaculture, fish and prawn has huge potential in India for feeding the population that is growing in our country. Thank you. Members who are associated with the task of getting permission from the Government of India for importing soya DOC. The soya DOC constitutes about 50% of the feed that is used in shrimp culture. And that too with 50% protein content. Unlike, I don't know whether in poultry there are other alternatives for this soya, but as far as shrimp is concerned, it is too difficult to change over to the new diet, and a lot of research is required. There are technologies emerging in other countries like Thailand, wherever the cost of traditional feeds are high, they are switching over to new technologies to reduce the cost of the feed. Like biofloc technology is a new technology that is emerging in aquaculture, and that can be adopted, but then we require the support both from Government of India as well as private sector. The problem in fisheries is most of the farmers are small farmers. Most of them for sustenance. They are not as big as poultry farmers, really speaking. Some companies may be there. They were there earlier when Black Tiger was there. A lot of corporates have entered into aquaculture when Black Tiger was ruling the roost. But once it was wiped out, I think it's now the small farmers or medium farmers who are into aquaculture. So research is very, very essential. Another area is how to reduce the FCR. These days I gather information from the farmers. It is going as high as 2. With the feed rates prevailing around 70 to 80 rupees a kilo, feed alone 60% of the 1 kg production cost about 200 rupees. So by utilizing the feed efficiently, by using new technologies like automatic feeders, if they can reduce the usage of feed and improve the FCR ratio, then viability will be better. So therefore, overall, my take is that in order to have sustainability of aquaculture, feed plays an important role. And that feed must be of good quality. And not only soya, we need fish meal also. There are other supplements, feed supplements. All these things put together, if you give good feed, perhaps you are getting better yields. So feed becomes very, very essential ingredient at a reasonable cost. And at the same time, farmers also should use new technologies to minimize the usage of unnecessarily large quantities of feed, which will increase their FCR, at the same time spoil the ponds also. There will be pollution because of over-usage of feed that gets putrefied, lot of ammonia, etc., etc. So therefore, proper scientific feed management is an essential item for sustainability of aquaculture.